Okay, it's Toby from Heavyweight MMA today with Matt the Viper Vaile, Kiwi fighter. Coming up on a big show, man. How you doing?
Good, man. Yeah, we're been looking forward to this fight. It's we're finally, after a couple of years, got something that we've sort of been working towards. So yeah, really looking forward to this one.
How good is the weekend, man? UFC 293, massive card, heaps of Kiwis and Aussies on the show. Then backing it up, we got Eternal 78 on the Friday beforehand. They kind of meshed together so good, man. It's going to be a great weekend.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of, I don't know, I feel like this whole, the way it's panned out, getting this fight has sort of worked out. Almost it was meant to be. So yeah, no, looking forward to it.
That's it. You fought in Australia before, bro? Have you fought in Sydney?
I don't think I've ever fought in Sydney before, no. It's just mainly been Queensland and Melbourne once, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man. Hey, you mentioned then that it's been a while. Just looking at your record, bro, like between 2018 and now, you've only had 2 fights, bro. Do you think, I know there's been COVID in between. There's obviously been people pulling out, hard to get opponents, you mentioned in one of your interviews.
Yeah.
How do you think that affects you, man? Is that, I'm just wondering, like, it can be good in some ways, right? And it can also be bad in some ways.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's definitely been hard. Like, I think you can see on like Tapology, I've had like 3 fights pull out before I managed to have those couple of matches. And even then it was a struggle to get those fights. So it was really frustrating. I mean, COVID was part of it. At least everyone was sort of in the same boat as for that. But there's been a whole bunch of like people not really wanting to take fights, and yeah, it's been tough. Like being able to work on obviously things that I think I needed to improve on over that time. So I definitely think I'm the best I've ever been where I'm at now. And yeah, I think it's definitely been a good thing to be able to get to a level where only getting better with more time, but sort of wanted to have big fights like this one that we finally got booked in to sort of finally get an opportunity to, on the big stage, to show where we're at and prove that point of that should be in the UFC and should be on the world stage.
Yeah, man, on one hand, like you can work on things, you can upskill all that time, bro. Obviously the battle testing and all that, experience in the ring of late has been a bit lacking for you, but then you get less damage as well. And how the hell do you survive, bro? Like no fight income coming in, bro. Like how do you do that? You work as well or what?
Yeah, I'm a Sparky. I own my own company, so that's why I sort of originally started working for myself, so I could sort of have more time to do training and everything else. So the money side of it's never really been an issue. It's sort of it's definitely. Yeah, it's frustrating not being able to have the fights on the table because I feel like I should have been in the UFC sort of years ago. Could have been getting these good fights in. So only getting older these days. So
yeah, man. Well, you're kind of in your prime now though, so you still got a good shot, man. Coming up now, bro. So Eternal 78, Friday 8th of September, fighting the man with the best eyebrows in Australian MMA, Joseph Luciano, for the welterweight belt, man. You're looking forward to fighting him?
Yeah, I am. I'm pretty stoked. He's stepped up to the plate on this one and given me the opportunity for this fight. So there's been a lot of talk for the last couple of months, or even in the last few years, saying there's been like 4 different people saying that they're the best welterweight, and like you can't really say that if you haven't fought the best people. So I feel like it is actually a fight of the top 2 contenders in that weight in this area, so there's going to be no denying either of us, whoever gets the win here. But I've definitely got my hand up. I'm going for it, and I've got more years behind me on the bigger stage. I feel like I've fought the harder opponents. I've been sort of where we're at. I've been sort of this close, had this opportunity so many times, and just not been there. So I've definitely prepared for this one, and yeah, I feel like this is my time.
How do you see this one playing out, bro? Do you see it as swinging more towards striking or more towards wrestling? Because I think both of you can do both, and you usually start standing and up in the grapple. So from what I've seen, anyway, do you think it'll head towards that, or will the wrestling kind of cancel itself out a bit and you guys engage in a striking?
Yeah, I think it's really going to play on who pushes the fight more. Like, if he really wants to try and push the grappling, it's gonna be hard work for him. It's a lot of energy trying to take down someone that you can't keep down. So I think it's going to be more, back and forth. So it's going to be a well-rounded fight, just to show good skill all round. It's hard to say. So the fight's going to go where you want it to go. So it's gonna be a good fight for sure.
That's it, man. Could you talk quickly about like where you've sort of trained through the years, bro? Like where you kicked off and which groups you've kind of trained with? I've seen some different things, and I'm not 100% sure on your history.
Yeah, so I started off in my hometown, still here, and we have a gym that sort of merged together. So it's through Core MMA now, and we've been there for probably the last, say, like 8 years or so. And obviously, New Zealand being so small, I've done a lot of camps up at like City Kickboxing and other gyms around the country with other local fighters there. So good thing about New Zealand is sort of we're always working in with each other because, it's so small that you sort of got to do that in order to get better. I did a camp over in Thailand. That was sort of when I was fighting on my XFC title. Did a camp there for a while at Phuket top team. Did a good couple of months over there full time. And since then, one of my main training partners, Luke, he was obviously in the UFC. So we have a good couple of guys now, good guys coming through as well. So they're finally at a point where we can get a lot out of them in the training. So everyone's pushing each other in their level now that, it's definitely, you can make use of all the training partners and no easy rounds.
That's a good thing, man. Hey, Luke Jamo, right? I saw one of your fights and you were in the corner. It was Luke and also Lolo Heimuli. Have you had much to do with him over your training?
Yeah, so I was working with Lolo leading up to my Hex fight. And that was really good. I've sort of, when I get the chance, because they're up in Auckland, so I live down probably like an hour and a half away. I get up and try and get some sessions when I can. But with him having his own gym, recently haven't really done as much training, but definitely taken away a big bag of sort of tricks from just even having a little bit of time over those few years working with him before those few fights. He came with me over to Japan for that fight, and it's definitely I've had a good range of coaching. Even if one of my other coaches back from Australia at the moment has been taking as much knowledge out of him as we can while we got him here.
That's it, man. Hey, I'm looking at a couple of your fights, man. In the earlier fight, one of your earlier fights, what was the guy's name? Joe Van Doon. You did a good job on him, but you look like you're moving kind of a little bit similar to some of the CKB guys in a way, like that fluent sort of outside range before moving in and that. Have you taken much influence from those guys, or that's just something that kind of came naturally to you?
No, I've always had my own sort of style. I don't think of most training up at CKB sort of being more sparring and getting use out of the level of competition up there. So doing more sparring and sessions like that. Haven't been lucky enough to get too much of like one-on-ones with the guys up there, but just mostly working in sparring sessions like that. I've always had come from a striking like sort of TKD background in traditional martial arts before we merged gyms. I've always been a good mover on my feet and using things like that to get advantage of my opponents. But
But you say you're pretty well rounded, right? Like you don't seem to mind where the fight goes, yeah? Like very resilient and very quick to change positions and that, and transition from standing to wrestling to submissions, etc.
Yeah, we've wherever the fight goes, pretty comfortable now. So we've obviously had enough time to work on pretty every aspect of the game. So whether he tries to take me down for bloody 5 rounds doesn't matter. He's going to end up knocked out, I reckon.
And how do you approach it, man? Coming up to a fight, like obviously there's a physical side, like how are you approaching the training, and then mentally, like how do you get your head around it, especially being out for a while?
Yeah, well, I've always sort of stayed busy. So recently, in the last 2 weeks ago, I had a kickboxing fight on a hometown show against one of the city kickboxing guys who used to be in Glory. So good level of competition. I've always stayed busy. Grappling competitions, I've always tried to keep that motivation going. Always working towards something, which is a big thing, I think, for especially being in the sport. You got to sort of have something to work towards, especially when there wasn't many fights coming to offer and stuff like that. So yeah, I think just staying busy and just having good people around you that motivate you to obviously get better, and yeah, never stopping on the goal of getting to the UFC and taking over.
That's it, man. Hey, who are some of the key sort of guys you've kind of learned from or trained with over the years, apart from Luke?
Yeah, we have a really deep kickboxing roots in New Zealand, especially within our gym as well. So we have another kickboxing crew, which is like the House of Pain team who come through. Really good experience through those guys. So some of those guys are world champion kickboxers. So learn heaps from them. We got Commonwealth wrestlers in the gym. We got a couple of them that we've learnt from. We've been working with them since sort of day one when we merged gyms. We've got just an extensive, we've got a couple of BJJ black belts, within 4 or 5 within the gym. So there's just every sort of angle of the game. We've got people there to sort of learn off, and I think it's been really good.
Nice. Did you say you're from Hamilton, bro? Was that what I heard somewhere?
Yeah, Hamilton.
Yeah. Is F Ting from Hamilton before? I can't remember.
I think maybe not. I think Auckland. Yeah, he was from Auckland MMA. I'm not too sure where his roots come from there.
Was Hamish from there? Hamish was
possibly. Yeah.
I thought those guys
I'm not too sure of their background as much.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought they were training around that area, but I might be wrong, bro. Just met them over here. So, man, you've had some fights in Australia. You've fought in Japan. You've trained in Thailand, you mentioned. I think I heard someone say you trained in the US as well. Do you like that, man? Do you like the benefits of that, to be able to get around the world and have a look and train at the same time?
Yeah, I think there's definitely things to take out of it, but definitely things you can't beat being at home as well. So I think at the time we didn't have too many training partners, so it was a good idea to go over to Thailand, and I definitely learned a lot from there. Got a lot out of that, and it showed sort of in my fight that I had straight after. I think I defended my XFC title against Brogan Anderson, a fellow Kiwi. But yeah, we've got a really good team at home now, so sort of you can't really have the comforts at home, and as well having a good gym with everyone around you. So yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man. Heaps of the guys like Dan and Kai and those guys all went over, and Brad Riddell went over to Thailand at that point, right? Do you think that was because of the just an opportunity, or was it because of trying to deepen the skills probably on the wrestling side and that, coming from kind of a striking country?
Yeah, I think it was about the same. They didn't really, or as far as I know, I don't think they really knew each other at that point, and that sort of was the starting point of that real deep bond between all the CKB guys coming into the same gym. They all trained in Thailand at the same time. It seemed around that time, sort of would have been probably 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe even a bit more before that they must have all met there and sort of come back and then formed obviously a real strong team. At CKB, sort of, that's really what's obviously been a big factor for them, being one of the world's best gyms now.
That's it, man. Do you look at it, man, do you look at it and just think it's amazing, how big it's become and how known the Kiwi guys are now in the UFC? But on the same hand, you've come up with these guys. Do you feel like you should be there with them?
Yeah. It's definitely frustrating. I've definitely let myself down in those opportunities I've had to sort of break it into the fight. So it's been real close. Haven't really been disheartened by just missing out, because I know that it's only small things that I could have changed to make the difference. So I've been in this position for, like I was saying, and I know exactly what I got to do now, and I feel like I've got it all covered. So yeah, I know I should be there, and I'm going to make it there, and it's going to be exactly what I'm working towards.
Man, that Sato fight pops into my head, man. You had it in the bag for a second there, right? That must be a frustrating one. Like, that was a great fight though, back with them forwards, and nice skills from both of you, man. You dropped him and just, I don't know what happened there, man. What happened?
Yeah, I think like leading up to that fight, I had just small injuries with like my ankle, and just didn't really work like the cardio as much, and especially that was exactly where I sort of needed that extra little push, and I saw blood, just try to get him out of there, but sort of just gassed from that position, and it's just it's pretty a little bit annoying on side things, but in that fight, definitely know if I took my time a little bit more, I could have probably definitely got the finish there, because it was a massive shot that landed with some elbows and everything. So definitely learn a lot of things from it.
Yeah, man, I'm sure you did some damage. You both did some damage actually in that fight, right?
Yeah, it was a good fight,
man. So in one of your recent interviews, you mentioned that you've got pretty simple sort of goals, man. Like, you're just looking at this fight as, your main goal for now, and that you want to kind of get up to that level. But then at the same time, you're also mentioning about, trying to get into the UFC. How are you going to go about it, bro? What's the path that you see to be able to jump into UFC or another major organization?
Yeah, I think like how this fight is coming up next to the UFC event, I think that's a huge thing for this. So I'm just looking at putting up a performance here. I think that could definitely be what I need to sort of break into the UFC there. So I'm looking at just putting it all on the line for this fight, because I know this could be possibly one of my last shots at getting in there. So got to do everything I can to make it.
Yeah, man. No, it'll be interesting to see how the night goes, bro. It's a big one. I can't wait to watch. So Eternal 78, Friday 8th of September, fight against Joseph Luciano. What's your prediction for the fight, brother?
I feel like he's going to be trying to push the wrestling. He's not going to like the stand up at all. He's going to try and push me against the fence. I'm going to catch him. I got a few reads on him. Looking at putting him away. We definitely got some tricks in there. So we're gonna finish him in this fight. Get the hand raised and do it in front of some of the UFC selectors, hopefully, and in the UFC by start of next year or end of this year would be ideal.
Sounds good, man. Hey, just out of interest, is it like a political thing to get in, man? Like, I know there are a lot of great fighters all around the world fighting on good shows, and not everyone gets in. Like, how does that work, man? Like, do you have the right connections? Do you have to have the right connections to get in there? I imagine you have to, right? Because it's not just about performance.
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge thing. Like, we definitely found some struggle. Like, even with CKB being such a big gym in New Zealand, it does seem like they get the natural like selection of like first dibs on fighters. Obviously, Israel's like probably the biggest fighter in UFC at the moment, so he's obviously going to help his team. So it has been, I think that does make it a little bit harder for me to get in there. So I've just really got to give them no doubt that I'm the best and should be in the UFC. So yeah, I can't just go by like winning by decision or boring fights, just dragging these fights out. So I've got to do something impressive, get the eye of the selectors. So I've already got the record to be in the UFC. They know that. I think I just got to do something, to stand out.
And man, how do you see the schedule of fights for you now? Like, obviously it's been dragged out. Are you just going to have another fight in like 2026, or you're gonna try and kick off 3 a year? Or
no way. I want to as soon as possible. Only getting older, bro. We've got to make some money.
That's it, man. Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks for your time. Nice to meet you, and look forward to watching you and all the other lads have your fight. I'm going to be there live at Eternal and UFC as well, so I can't wait for that weekend, bro.
Awesome.
I'll see you there.
Sweet, bro. See you then. Cheers.
Cool. See you, bro. Thanks.